Hello everyone, welcome back to AZ 500 series, and today we are going to explore, as you see on the slide, Azure AD Identity Protection. This is one of the advanced feature or capabilities of Azure AD, and it requires license because advanced capabilities always need money. So today we are going to understand it from the conceptual basis, then we'll see how to define those policies. So, what is identity protection? Well, here is my definition. It is an automated identity risk detection service provided by Microsoft. As you can see, automated identity risk detection, right? So the question is how it is detecting the risk. Well, there is a lot of science there, machine learning there, a lot of advanced technology there that we'll talk about and understand it. So if you think about it, there is a wealth of useful security information in Azure AD sign-in activities. Think the broad customers of Microsoft, billions of people, right? By analyzing sign-in activities, we can uncover suspicious events that indicate that a user's identity has been compromised. For example, if we notice a sign-in event that deviates from a user's normal sign-in behavior, this could indicate that user's identity is being used by someone other than the user. The issue is that manual analysis to uncover these types of incidents involves a lot of effort and maybe not even practical, right? That's why we need a service like this, which works on machine learning, and all the information feeds in and it can detect on the basis of the patterns, right? This is where identity protection comes in. It can help us to automate the detection of indicators of compromise and suspicious actions in Azure AD sign-in activities. The great thing about ID protection is that it is not only about detection, but we can also investigate any risks that have been identified using its reports. Yes, it provides reports. If you remember, we talked about PHS, password hash, leaked credentials report that comes from here. We can even export the detections to third-party systems for further analysis, and we can configure policies to react to risks that are detected. So it's not only detecting, you can have actions taking place or investigation analysis taking place as well. As I said, it is advanced features. So yes, P1 or P2 license, or not P1 or P2, P2 license, Azure AD Premium P2 license is needed to utilize this feature. Now, let's check, because we are talking about risk detections all the time. If you talk about Azure AD identity protection, so we need to understand the risk categories. So let's jump on to the next slide. Pretty big, huh? That's okay. Just be with me. Let's understand the concept of risk. All right, so risk categories. We got two kind of categories: user risk and sign-in risk. User risk represents the likelihood that a user account has been compromised. Identity protection can detect the user risk types. As you can see, I have given two examples. Leaked credentials. This feature detects whether a user's valid credentials have been leaked on the dark web. public page site or other sources such as law enforcement agencies. The detection is powered by Microsoft Identity Security Team. They keep gathering the data, and this detection type is offline. Okay, we'll talk about offline and online detection type, but for now, that's how. Another example is Azure AD Threat Intelligence. This detects unusual user sign-in activity that is either not consistent with the user's normal sign-in behavior or that is consistent with known attack patterns identified by Microsoft Threat Intelligence sources. So these two kind of categories you can see are the user risk categories. All right. Now, if we talk about sign-in risk, user risk and sign-in risk, two categories. Now, sign-in represents the likelihood that a given sign-in request is coming from someone else rather than the legitimate user. Okay. And what was the user risk? The user account has been compromised that they're using. They're not trying to access that point in time, but the user and password, maybe the password is leaked on the dark web. So in other words, sign-in risk, it goes beyond detecting the fact that a user's credentials have been compromised to detecting that the credentials are actively being used by someone else to sign in as the user. Identity protection uses different techniques to detect sign-in risks. And let's check few examples. As we can see, atypical travel is one of the example. It detects sign-in activities by the same user that originates from geographically distant locations within a short period of time. For example, the same user sign in from Australia and Canada within 5 minutes. The machine learning algorithm that detects this risk avoids false positives by taking into consideration previous sign-in behavior by that user and legitimate factors that could contribute to the behavior, such as VPN. Another example is malware-linked IP addresses. It detects sign-in activities from an IP address that Microsoft Threat Intelligence System have identified as being in communication with a known active bot server. This could indicate that the device that the user is connecting from has been compromised with malware. Unfamiliar sign-in properties, it's like uh, a user signing in from a location that they have never connected from in past, or user signing in with a client that uses basic authentication or legacy protocols. We did talk about basic legacy authentication in the previous video. Malicious IPs, it detects signing activities from an IP address that is considered to be suspicious by threat intelligence sources by Microsoft. This is based on IP reputation intelligence. So there's a huge list of these kind of risks available on the Microsoft documentation. If you'd like to go and read through each and every risks, but to understand this concept, there are because we were talking about identity protection is a risk detection service. So what are the risks? There are two kind of risk: user and sign in. User risk is when user account seems to be compromised. He's not doing anything. He's sitting in home, not even trying to log in. But sign in is when he's trying to sign in. It may be like compromised, but somebody else is using somewhere. All right. So now we talked about offline and online detection because these things are happening. Leaked credentials offline. Offline is what this service finding out things offline and informing or flagging the compromised credentials. So real time detection means that there is a latency of 5 to 10 minutes between when suspicious activity occurs and when it is flagged. And that would be the real time. And offline detection means there is a latency of 2 to 4 hours between the suspicious activity occurs and when it is flagged. For example, the lead credentials, user risk detection type, that detects user lead credentials on the dark web or paste bin happens offline. This means that there could be a latency of 2 to 4 hours between when the leak is identified and when it is flagged by the identity protection. Okay, so this is what it is. So as of now, we have seen Azure AD Identity Protection is an advanced feature. We need P2 license for this. It is an automated identity risk detection service. We can also automate the reaction, and investigation analysis can be done as well. And we have two kind of risk, user and sign-in risk. We have two kind of detection types, real-time detection and offline detection. Now it's time to understand the risk levels. Identity protection categorize risks in 3 levels: low, medium, and high. You can think of the risk level as a confidence indicator that the user or sign-in has been compromised. All right, so if you talk about high level, means there is a strong indicator that the user's identity has been compromised, and any user account impacted should be remediated immediately. Medium means that that there is a potential risk and any user accounts impacted should be remediated, but the urgency is a bit lower as compared to high risk. But in case of low risk, means that immediate action may not be required, but when combined with other risk detection, it may provide a strong indication that the identity has been compromised. The risk level useful when we configure identity protection policies to respond to risk events. For example, we could configure a risk policy to block sign-in for high risk level indication. Now, of course, the kind of service it is, it's not like you have to just turn it on, but we need to create the policies and decide what needs to be done. Block the access or allow the access or ask for MFA, things like that, as per the user sign-in or user risk or sign-in risk on the risk levels. So let's quickly check the policies and understand it. Well, identity protection policies can be configured to automate the response to risk detection. And there are 3 policies. By default, it's there in identity protection: sign-in risk, user risk, and Azure AD MFA. Well, sign-in risk policy, there's the mouse, yeah. This policy can be used to automate the response to sign-in risk detection based on the risk level. How? Okay, well, let's understand. First, we decide the level of risk that we are willing to accept, high, medium, or low. We then configure the control that we want to apply to the risk. There are 3 options: block access, allow access, or allow but require MFA. For example, we can configure this policy to require MFA for users if a medium level sign-in risk is detected. Microsoft's recommendation is to set the sign-in risk threshold to medium. This way, the policy is only triggered for medium and high severity risk detection, thereby reducing user interruption. There is something we need to understand. Why we're not doing it on low? Because we also need to take care of the user experience. We always want to strike the right balance between security and user experience. If we trigger this policy for low-level sign-in risk detection, we will introduce additional user interruptions, but increase our security posture for sure. Now, user risk policy. This policy can be used to automate the response to user risk detection based on the risk level, just like sign-in risk policy. Everything is same. Now, let's try to understand through an example. We can require users to change their passwords if their accounts are flagged for a high-level user risk, right? So as per the risk level, we decide what to do, what not to do on the control. Block, allow, or allow access with either MFA or require a password change, things like that. We have seen that in conditional access policy creation pane as well. Now, Azure AD MFA registration policy, yes, we can also utilize ID protection for MFA registration. Be with me, registration. This third policy is not really about automating the response to risk detections. It can be used to roll out MFA across an organization. You may be thinking, why is this option under ID protection then? This is a valid question for sure. The reason is to allow for user self remediation. For example, if we configure a sign in risk policy to allow access but require MFA, for medium sign in risk detections, sign in attempts that are identified as suspicious will fail for users who are yet to register their MFA device, and they may need to call the help desk, leading to an increased workload. Enabling this policy is a great way to ensure that the new users in your organization have registered for MFA on their first day so that they are ready for the interruptions that may be caused when suspicious activities are detected. All right, let's quickly check the user access flow to understand what is happening here. Seems quite familiar when we did the conditional access. The same thing is happening. User is going, throwing back, going to Azure AD, validating password and everything. But before it give the go ahead, it has to validate these policies. So 4 or 5, four and then validation, then 5. So if no user or sign-in risk is detected, 4, and the MF registration policy does not apply, then flow continues. If users or sign-in risk is detected, access can either be blocked, allowed through MFA, or forced password reset. The control that will be applied is based on the risk level detected and the control that is configured in the identity protection policies. All right, let's check this 5, 6, and 7. Once this is done, it will give the go ahead and it can go and access the application. All right, so this is all about Azure AD identity protection, but I would like to show you on the portal as well. So let me quickly go ahead and open my portal. Right here, we need to go under security. Under security, we have identity protection. And here, user risk policy, sign-in risk policy, multi-factor authentication. Here are the reports. Right, you need to add the user risk. That's how it will be sound for all user risk, low and above, high, medium, and low and above. And access control, we have these are the access, block or allow, required password change. That's how we can configure this, but I do not have the license to show the practical, but I do have the screenshots that can help you. This is the we just saw that on the Azure portal, and this is the snippet where you can see sign-in risk-based conditional access policy, user risk level, and sign-in risk level. So Azure AD identity protection is working with the conditional access, and as per the level, we can decide what to do and what not to access controls under access controls. So, well, that's all about Azure AD identity protection. I hope this video helped you guys. Well, thank you for watching. Let's meet in another video. Till then, take care and goodbye.